Okay, so this is how I think of audio description. You find the gaps in the soundtrack and you use that to fill in the gaps in the story. Okay, so you write the AD to make sense of the soundtrack. All right, so that's the first stage. That can take a while depending on the type of film that you've got. Okay, so that's the first step. The second step is the recording stage. So you then have to record those descriptions in the time that you've allowed for it. And I can promise you, you're going to write your descriptions too fast when you start off, okay? So the big trick with timing descriptions is read it out loud in the time that you've got. Don't read it in your head, read it out loud, because reading in your head is faster, okay? Also, reading out loud lets you figure out if you can actually pronounce the words that you've written in the sentence that you've put them in, okay? In the speed that you have to say them. And these things come up quite a lot, okay? So the tone is an interesting one. There was a idea in audio description that it had to be completely neutral. And this was the standard for a long time. It actually sounds like they're terminally depressed. So we've sort of modified that a bit. We think more newsreader or documentary narration. That's sort of, you're interested in it, but you're not having an opinion in your voice. The other thing to do with voice is try and match it to the scene. So if you're doing an action scene, there's no point speaking slowly, because it's like da 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 da. You know, it goes fast, slow, fast, slow. That gets really weird. Okay, so if you're in an action scene, you can go faster. Okay, and you're going to be tempted to put in a lot of information. I know this. You want to pack in as much as you can. If you're sounding like a race caller, it makes it very hard for them to keep up with what's going on and to understand what's going on. You want them to enjoy the experience of audio description. It needs to be relaxing. They can't, if you go too fast and they have to think, what did they just say? It throws them out of the experience, okay? And recording, try and record as clean as possible, because if you've got background hiss or something like that, you will hear it and it'll come up and hiss, okay? The mixing stage. So what happens is we fade the soundtrack under the description, fade it down, fade it up. It depends on how loud it is. Like, you've got action scenes as opposed to very quiet dialogue scenes. So you can do that manually, but you fade it down. The other thing is we normalize descriptions. Movies come at different volumes, so movies have been normalized. So if the movie is at -9, we would probably normalize 1 or 2 above that, so -11. So, no, got to do the maths. -7, I went the wrong way. Okay, so it's slightly louder, okay? And you need to look at the average all the way through. So once again, you want the audio description to be distinct, so they know, right, that's the AD, it's not part of the soundtrack, but you don't want it to be, oh, it's too loud, so they have to turn it down every time the audio description comes, or they have to turn it up every time the audio description comes. So 1, 2, 3 above is the standard, and you also dip the soundtrack. Internet videos can be quite loud. The mixing of internet videos is usually much, much louder than television. So what you might do is actually normalize 2 or 3 under. So if it's at, like if it's normalized at like -4, which is very loud, you might actually make the description softer at -6. It's still easy to see, hear, still distinct. Yep. Is that all making sense at this stage? But yeah, so that's the basic way of making audio description. So it's not rocket science. The content's actually the hardest part. And yeah, writing the content is tricky. But that's how you make a audio description track. So it's possible to do it with freeware and standard software if you know how to do it. Okay? You can even use text, like Word. You can use that to write audio description. okay? Okay, constraints on filmmakers. If you're getting a professional to do audio description or captioning, even if you're doing it yourself, leave enough time for AD and captioning. Put it in your post-production schedule right from the start. Because if you're captioning, if you've got to transcribe it all yourself, it takes a long time. Okay, fiddling around with the techniques of getting it in the computer, it takes a long time. Factor it in, okay? Even if you're getting professionals to do it, factor it in. Don't say, oh, I need this tomorrow, a feature film audio described and captioned tomorrow. No, okay, it's not going to happen. Professionally, it's really great if we get 2 weeks, because that lets us make sure there's no problems. You know, we've got enough time to do it properly, we can come back and talk to you, things like that. The media's fine. But if you're doing it yourself, once again, it's going to take longer than you think it does. So factor it in, all right? Okay, what you need, like captioning, you do it once the edit's finished. Okay, don't do, like audio description and captioning, it comes down to the frame a lot of the time. So if you're re-editing, it can cause havoc with your captions and audio description in a way you will not believe, okay? So wait till you've got picture lock at the very least. For audio description, you need the final sound mix, and this is really important because you're weaving the descriptions around the soundtrack. You've spent time on this soundtrack. You want to make sure the descriptions aren't covering up any particular sound effect or music or trill or, you know, whatever you're doing. Okay, so don't do this till you've got the final soundtrack, okay? You can get started on it. But yeah, just it's the last thing that you do. Okay, now we've recently had a film that was originally labelled Picture Lock. It's gone through 3 edits since Picture Lock, and it's causing us all sorts of headaches. It's causing them all sorts of headaches, so final thing to do, okay? Now, we understand there are problems with audio, like just timing. I know what it's like. You know, you've got Picture Lock, then things change and all hell breaks loose. I understand this. If that happens, talk to them as soon as possible. Contact your company as soon as possible. Let them know what's going on. If the timing's tight, so for example, you don't have the credits on the end, fine, talk to them and start this process early. Let them know what's going on, communicate, and they're the professionals. They can tell you the best way to do this. Okay, we've certainly had occasions where the credits aren't on yet. It's not graded yet. The subtitles aren't finished yet. That's fine. They talk to us and we can get it sorted, okay? But just keep that in mind when you're doing these things. If you're giving it to someone else to do, a good resolution of the film, it's helpful to be able to see what's going on. I did a film once where there was a wall covered with documents, okay? And the film was so low resolution, we weren't sure if there was any important information on the wall because we couldn't read it. So we asked them for a high resolution copy of that scene. Turns out one of the documents were divorce papers that were stuck onto the wall with a steak knife. We couldn't see that, okay? It was a dark film. That's important information, guys, okay? So you've got very dark film. So we need to be able to see what's going on, okay? With the credits as well, we need to be able to read them. Read the credits, read the subtitles, okay? So look at the resolution of the film. Once again, high quality copy of the soundtrack, because we're mixing our descriptions into your soundtrack, okay? So we need the final version. A script can come in very handy, just because it helps us identify who all the characters are. It's quite tricky to keep track of who's who if you've got the script. If you've got the script, it helps. Also helps with locations. So where are they? I mean, for you, you're just watching it. It's a house. That's nice. I have to say where they are. I have to know if it's Bill's house or Anne's house or Shirley's house. Okay, I need to know where they are because I have to describe that. Okay, so the script can just be helpful in guiding us. Okay, and for you guys as well. All right. Okay, now if you're making a feature film, a documentary, a drama, that sort of thing, you don't need to worry about captioning and audio description in your edit. You're artists, you make your film. Okay, it's not an issue. Working in the audio description and captioning is someone else's problem. It's the captioner's problem, it's the audio describer's problem. Make your film. Internet videos, if they're on a government website or if they're on a website that's required to meet the WCAG's standards, it is your problem. You need to make sure there is enough time for audio description. If there is not enough time for audio description and you have to have recorded audio description, you have to re-edit the film to put in time. And yes, this has happened. Okay? So just, even if you're doing an informational video, the ideal thing to do is to put all the information in the soundtrack. Okay, because people who are deaf and hearing impaired, they've got the captions, and the captions are much more comprehensive and have all the information, whereas with audio description, we have to leave so much out. Okay, if there's no time, we can't describe it. Okay, so if you're doing an informational video, the ideal is it doesn't need audio description. Put all the information in the soundtrack. I mean websites, phone numbers, any text on screen, get it in there.